The king of hell fell for a girl, so he tampered with her book of life and death without permission, writing her name among the dead. The girl was a high deity who had descended to the mortal world to endure tribulations, and she was also the heavenly emperor's old flame. When the heavenly emperor investigated, I took the blame for him. The king of hell, in his kindness, sent me to the mortal world to capture a vengeful ghost, promising to absolve me of my responsibility. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. I, Luo Yu, am merely a judge by the side of the king of hell. Laro Hei and Laro Bai, those two fellows, love to mock me for being overly scholarly, catching ferocious ghosts. I've truly never done that before. But they gave me a bell, saying it would ring whenever a ghost drew near. The king of hell assigned me an identity, a worker at the pork shop in the west of the city. I've been catching pigs for half a year and haven't even caught a glimpse of a ferocious ghost. Instead, the bells given by Laro Hei and Laro Bai ring every day, and all I see are the vengeful spirits of those pigs. I found the noise annoying, so I threw it into the pigsty. Then that very night, I encountered a fierce ghost. The fierce ghost was quite good-looking, at least much more handsome than the king of hell, who boasts of being the most handsome man in the underworld. I had just caught a runaway piglet when I met him. Who would have thought he was a fierce ghost? Seeing him stare intently at the piglet in my arms, I rolled my eyes at him. If you want to eat, go buy some at the butcher shop in the west of the city. Freshly slaughtered, totally worth it. He looked at me, quite shocked, then said with a laugh, could it be any fresher than this? The piglet in my arms was snatched away by him, and one of its legs was torn right off. He actually ate it. Just like that, ate it. I was stunned. Brother Gooey, isn't that dirty? Hearing this, he wiped his mouth, leaving 2 streaks of blood at the corners, making him look like an Azura from the 10th layer of hell. This young lady is certainly cleaner than a pig. Laro Hei, Laro Bai, Lord Yama, someone, Pa. A ghost is about to eat a ghost. I took off running, and as I ran, I pulled out the portrait of the fierce ghost that Lord Yama had given me from my chest. Finally confirming that this was the one I was looking for. It's just a shame that after half a year, I had long forgotten what he looked like. Luo Yu, why are you running? Grab him, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Capture him, and you can return to the underworld to report your mission. The voice in my mind urged me to stop, and I cursed, bullshit, I only have this one soul left. If this thing eats it, how am I supposed to be reincarnated? The stingiest king of hell. Not even giving me a single magical tool, I ran all the way back to the shop, and when I looked back and saw no ghosts behind me, I gradually calmed down. In the middle of the night, I climbed into the pigsty to retrieve my bell, then squatted across the street waiting for Laro Hei and Laro Bai to come. The owner of this shop has been ill for many years, and Laro Hei and Laro Bai once said they would come to take his soul today. Laro Hei only gave me a letter from the king of hell. The letter stated that during the 6 months I've been idling away, fierce ghosts have already killed more than 10 court officials. What a gap between ghost lives. Some ghosts are catching pigs, while others are killing people. I spread my hands and asked Laro Hei, so, nothing else, for example, magical artifacts, and the life story of this ghost? Old Hei shook his head and patted my shoulder. Luo Yu, you have to understand, the king of hell just went through a breakup. He can't be bothered with all your details. Why didn't I just hack him to death with a butcher knife? Which pig am I taking the blame for? The king of hell said he'll give you at most 3 more months. If you can't catch it, just wait to be thrown into purgatory. Fine, I'll catch it then. You love killing. You love competing. Just wait till I outdo you to death. I killed the old emperor of Sangbei Kingdom. When it comes to competing, I can be called the king. I figure this old geezer has about a month left before he kicks the bucket. In life, he was utterly debauched and brutally cruel. Even in the underworld, he'd at least end up in the 10th layer of purgatory. Besides, the king of hell's meaning is clear. He wants me to follow in the footsteps of that fierce ghost. What is there to be afraid of? The emperor suddenly died, throwing the kingdom of Sangbei into panic, with no final words from the old ruler found. Several princes raised armies in rebellion. Sangbei was thrown into chaos. The king of hell came to the mortal world, grabbed my ear, and started scolding. Can't you understand human language? Who told you to kill the emperor, your majesty? Its ghost language. He was left speechless by me. In short, to prevent me from causing any more trouble, he gave me 3 protective talismans. Additionally, besides catching vengeful spirits, I now have another task: to clean up the mess I made. In other words, I intend to resolve the current chaos in Sangbei. After the King of Hell left, the bell at my waist rang again within a quarter of an hour. I thought it was the vengeful spirit of some pig again, but when I stepped out, I saw a fierce ghost I hadn't seen in days. He wasn't afraid of the sun at all. The intense light could pass right through his body, and his exceptionally handsome appearance made me wonder whether he was a fierce ghost or a deity. I had no idea the lady is a fellow practitioner. His smile was not as pleasant as when he was quiet. It always gave off a sense of hidden malice. He said he had spent 2 months without getting close to that old emperor, never expecting that I would kill him so effortlessly. Where did you come from, fierce spirit? How is it that you have a physical form? He looked me up and down, his eyes clearly filled with intense desire. I've tried possessing others too. But at most a few days would pass before the person died, and the body would rot away. Yet this body, after so many days, remains perfectly intact. This guy is lusting after my body. Don't even think about it. You're overthinking it. Miss, you've actually been a great help to me. He drifted closer, his face coming right up to mine. There's one last person I need to kill. How about you help me out? You wish. I swung a slap at him, which of course passed right through. But it was enough to make him pull that face away. Sis, I'm here to take you to the 18th level of hell, but you can't even get close to me. He raised an eyebrow, and in his lifted hand, he actually held the 3 life-saving talismans the King of Hell gave me. With this thing, you can't take me to the underworld. I'm done. Kill this person, and I will return them to you. The second prince of Sangbei Kingdom, he pointed to his own eyes, then at me. I'll be watching you. He must be an idiot. It's not like I can't live without that life-saving charm. I just don't want it anymore. Alright, but why does this ghost always target people in the court? High-ranking officials, powerful nobles, emperors, princes. Does killing these people enhance his cultivation or something? Since I have to resolve this chaotic situation anyway, I might as well look into it while I'm at it. Is that the second prince? Sister is here. The second prince is not easy to kill. Although the old emperor is also heavily guarded, I can easily enter the inner palace hall by abandoning my physical form. Most of the talismans around him are meant to ward off vengeful spirits. Since I have already been to the underworld and cleansed the sins of my past life, I am like a blank slate. Those talismans can do nothing to me. But this second prince has a piece of jade. If I abandon my physical form and approach him as a ghost, I will be repelled from even 10 feet away, let alone kill him. I spent the whole day and only caught a glimpse of the back of the second prince's head. I discussed with Ghost Brother, asking him to spread rumors in the city about evil spirits running rampant, so I could pose as an exorcist and sneak into the second prince's residence. He was quite displeased with this, thinking he could just sit back and reap the benefits, but it turned out he still had to put in some effort. Ghost Brother worked tirelessly for 3 days and nights. That night, while I was sound asleep, he returned. His cultivation is profound. Though I can't touch him, he could wake me with a single slap if he wished. Like now, he looked at the drool at the corner of my mouth with disdain. I really don't know how a ghost like you managed to kill the old emperor. Is it so hard to admit that others are better than you? I wiped my mouth with my sleeve, turned over, and went back to sleep. The next day, I set up a stall in front of the pork shop. The shopkeeper's wife glared at me for a long time, but later I told the customers that buying some pig's blood here could ward off evil spirits. After that, she greeted me with a smile for several days, saying she never knew pig's blood could be sold for money. For days, Guige hadn't troubled the common folk. So they truly believed my methods were effective. In no time, everyone knew there was a female mage in the west of the city with unparalleled Taoist skills. Of course, it was inevitable that fellow practitioners would come to humiliate me. The Taoist priest before me had been exorcising spirits in the city for over a decade. He smashed my stall and called me a deceitful young girl, accusing me of fraud. As soon as this happened, the landlady was the first to object. She grabbed her butcher knife and chased after him, the blade still dripping with blood. Ghost brother and I looked at each other, watching as night fell, and immediately packed up our things to return to the courtyard. Ghost brother had a big task to accomplish tonight. The steward of the second prince's mansion was a firm believer in ghosts and spirits, so he planned to scare the steward tonight, which would then get me invited to the second prince's mansion. Ghost brother said he deeply regretted partnering with me. Then why not just call it off? I was more than happy to agree, and immediately reached out my hand to ask for my protective talisman back. The second prince is the only one among the northern princes who hasn't raised an army to seize the throne. The common folk all say he's a romantic and a libertine, most fond of beautiful women. I stood up and leaned close to Ghost brother, stroking my chin with a rather serious expression as I said, "Why don't you, Ghost brother, possess a beautiful woman and get close to him? Think you're so clever?" He crossed his arms in front of his chest and continued, "The jade he wears is incredibly powerful. Even if I possess someone, I can't get within half a step of him. Then why not lend me your body? Don't even think about it." I crossed my arms protectively over my chest, my mind racing with the thought that the King of Hell had given me this one good thing, and now he's got his eye on it. Brother Gooey said no more and disappeared into the pitch-black night to find the steward. As expected, my notorious reputation over the past few days had surpassed that of the Taoist priest who had been exorcising ghosts for 10 years. Early the next morning, the steward from the second prince's residence came to invite me to perform an exorcism. Before leaving, I saw the hopeful look in the innkeeper's eyes and couldn't help but shake my head. "I need 3 catties of pig's blood," I said to the steward. The butler ordered someone to handle the matter, and he and I went ahead to the second prince's residence. But as soon as we stepped into the estate, 3 piglets dashed past me. The butler explained that they were brought back to be slaughtered while the blood is still fresh. "Then why aren't you slaughtering them? What's with them running all over the place?" "Sorry, mage, I can't hold on any longer." On the first day of the plan's implementation, the first time I came face to face with the second prince, I was holding 2 piglets while he stood there, his folding fan frozen mid-air, unable to utter a word for a long time. The aloof and peerless beauty mage persona I had spent over 10 days crafting collapsed in that instant. "The mage can even catch pigs." He approached me in a few steps, tucking his fan behind his back, his phoenix eyes brimming with charm. I chuckled awkwardly. When wandering the world, having more skills never hurts. Armed with various tools bought from street stalls, I wandered around the second prince's residence for several rounds. After pasting randomly drawn talismans, I told the steward that the job was done, but this ghost's resentment runs deep. I'm afraid it won't dissipate within 7 days. Seeing the butler take half a step back in fright, I waited for him to say something to ask me to stay, but he glanced at the second prince beside him and hemmed and hawed for a long time without saying anything. As for this second prince, the corners of his mouth never stopped curling upward. "If that's the case, I'll have to trouble the mage to stay in the mansion," he said, shaking the fan in his hand while wrapping an arm around the butler's shoulder. "After all, I've been afraid of ghosts since I was a child." With such a carefree demeanor, I really couldn't tell that he was afraid of ghosts. Is there some kind of conspiracy? Just as I was thinking this, the second prince actually leaned in close to me. Our faces were barely an inch apart. My mind went blank, and I even stopped breathing for a moment. What does the mage think? I'm fine with anything. I'm drunk. What sin has this ghost brother committed to want to kill such a beauty? "Butler, arrange accommodations for the mage." He stepped back half a pace, then exclaimed as if remembering something, "May I ask the mage's name?" "Luo, you." I raised my hand to wipe the drool from the corner of my mouth. "I know what his scheme is now. I think he must have taken a fancy to me." The second prince, named Fu Zhon, is indeed recognized by the high officials and nobles of the capital as a handsome man. However, he does not engage in political schemes or vie for power. After losing his wife at the age of 22, he has spent his days frequenting pleasure quarters, and now at 24, he has yet to remarry. But recently, he has taken a fancy to the top courtesan of Chunman Tower. Coincidentally, the old emperor has just died, and several princes are fighting for the throne. In this chaotic time, no one is stopping him from redeeming the courtesan. He has been preparing the betrothal gifts to propose to the courtesan at Chunman Tower. According to rumors among the maids in his mansion, it seems the day is today. Isn't he interested in me? I could have sworn he was interested in me yesterday. What a sin I've committed. I sighed and shook my head as I looked at the betrothal gifts neatly arranged in the courtyard. How could I have killed the emperor? Ghost brother was right beside me, and seeing me like this, he mocked me, suggesting that I must have fallen for the second prince. Ghost brother, are you really going to kill Fu Zhan? I turned my head and whispered into his ear. It's such a pity to kill someone so handsome, good-looking. He looked quite displeased. Luo Yu, don't forget why you're here. Of course I remember. I, Luo Yu, am here under the King of Hell's orders to take you back to the underworld and send you to the 18th level of purgatory. You're really dedicated to your job. After Fu Zhan arrived, Ghost brother scurried away and disappeared without a trace. I was actually thinking of slipping away too, but Fu Zhan quickly blocked my path and asked if I would be willing to go with him to Chunman Tower to propose marriage. This is a bit awkward. Extra payment for the mage. Money isn't the main concern. What I truly value is the second prince's character. When Madame Chunman saw Fu Zhan arrive, her smile stretched from ear to ear, but her words still feigned reluctance. What? This is the star performer of our Chunman pavilion. If the second prince takes her away, we'll lose so much silver. Fu Zhan was also a fool, actually asking her seriously if she felt the betrothal gifts weren't enough, and saying he would send someone to deliver more another day. I leaned in close to him. Did your money fall from the sky? Yes, he nodded. Me, that day. The Madam of Chunman Pavilion smiled cheerfully and tried to lead Fu Zhan upstairs, implying that he could take her away that very day. She seemed to be selling something. Yet Fu Zhan was trying his best to make this marriage not feel like a transaction. He wants to give this girl a grand wedding procession. That night, I lay in bed unable to fall asleep for a long time. After Ghost brother came, I didn't want to pay him any attention either. I just lay there with my eyes open, lost in thought, mulling over the words Fu Zhan had said to me during the day. He said that everyone has their own means of making a living. But most people in the world look down on women of the pleasure quarters. If he were to redeem Miss Ahuai without proposing marriage, the slanderous voices against her would only grow louder. As for why he called me today, he said it was because I have quite a reputation in the capital. Although I am not a matchmaker who arranges marriages, I am more than qualified to serve as a witness. I looked at Ghost brother standing by my bed with a displeased expression, then sat up and asked, Ghost brother, have you ever been married? None of your business. He was momentarily stunned, but his words remained sharp. I sighed, my face filled with melancholy. Luo Yu, are you perhaps thinking of getting married? Yeah, I nodded. Do you want to marry that guy Fu Zhan? He suddenly pinched my cheek. I thought it really wouldn't help to open it. He's so rich. I never thought getting married would be so expensive. Thinking about the betrothal gifts Fu Zhan offered to Miss Ahuai, I find him incredibly charming. I've been catching pigs for half a year, and the money I earned isn't even worth one hairpin from his pile of betrothal gifts. Wish we had met sooner. Obviously, I saw Ghost brother's mouth twitch. He let go of me, with a look of disappointment that I hadn't lived up to his expectations. Brother Gui, if you were to marry, how much bride price would you give her? He paused for a long moment and said quite seriously, I would give her my sincere heart. So, does that mean you have nothing to offer but sincerity? Whoever marries you is a fool. I snapped at him. Ghost brother tore up one of my life-saving talismans. He threatened me to take action before Fu Zhan marries Miss Ahuai. Reason, we can't let Miss Ahuai become a widow. I think he is truly merciful, but killing Fu Zhan is not that easy, while Fu Zhan is out of the mansion. I sneak into his study and set up some hidden weapons inside. The weapons are aimed at the desk. When he sits there, I just need to release the trigger, and the hidden weapons will turn Fu Zhan into a sieve. I stared at Ghost brother and asked him if this plan would work. He drove me outside Fu Zhan's study. I diligently set up hidden weapons inside, and just as the last one was in place, a sudden inspiration flashed through my mind. Why does it feel like, without me realizing it, my boss has changed? Why do I want to kill Fu Zhan? What did I come to the mortal world for? I'm here to capture the fierce ghost to avoid punishment, and also to quell the chaos in Sangbei country. How did I become the fierce ghost's lackey? Looking at the place where I was now, Fu Zhan, The second prince of Sangbei's study. I wondered if there might be any court intelligence or something inside. If I couldn't bring back the vengeful ghost, at least I could help quell the chaos. Unfortunately, there was nothing of the sort. Instead, there was a pile of paintings of beautiful women. There was also one hidden in a secret compartment of the cabinet. I opened it from the bottom up, and what came into view were gold-threaded black boots and white embroidered shoes, flowing cloud-like white robes and a red fairy skirt, the twin jades at their waists until the painting was fully unfolded, and I saw their faces clearly. I was completely stunned. The person in the painting turned out to be me and Ghost Brother. In the lower corners were the names Shenjie and Wenren Yang. Forget about killing Fu Zhong or not. I ran back to the room and slapped the painting in front of Ghost Brother. Are you Shenjie? He was lost in thought for a moment, the painting hovering in the air before him, and as he stared at the image of me in the painting, a smile curled at the corner of his mouth. Damn, looking at this situation, I'm probably that fool who didn't even ask for a bride price. I leaned close to him and pointed at the person in the painting. This is you, Shenjie, and this Wenren Yang. Is she your wife? He nodded, his fingers gently touching the face in the painting. We pledged ourselves to each other in secret, but never married, so you not only didn't give me a betrothal gift, but you didn't even give me a proper status. You scoundrel, I was furious, rolling up the painting and throwing it onto the table. What did you say? I'm telling you, you scoundrel. Wait, what you just said was I. He widened his eyes, utterly astonished. It's me. I pointed at the painting on the table. This woman, Wenren Yang, is me. I detached my soul from my body and leaned in close to stare at him. See clearly now, it's me. His eyes reddened instantly. Why are you crying? Hey, I've lost both my love and my money. And I'm not even crying. What are you crying about? Don't cry anymore. He continued to sob, then wiped his tears like a little girl, saying pitifully, but it's you, Yang, who changed your heart and fell for someone else. What? I went to fight in the north to achieve glory and marry you. Yet you ended up marrying your old flame. The story isn't going the way it should. Then, who is the old flame? Fu Zhong. What? Fu Zhong. You and he had a childhood engagement, but you were later captivated by my unparalleled elegance. He said this without a hint of blush or fluster. I never imagined his true nature would turn out to be like this. So you broke off your engagement with him and pledged yourself to me, but your parents didn't agree. That's why I went to the battlefield to fight, just to earn merits quickly and marry you. I rose through the ranks all the way to a first-grade general. If we win this battle in the north, I'll be appointed as a grand general, finally meeting your father's conditions to marry you. But Yang, you cheated on me. His eyes welled up with tears, filled with extreme grievance. Well, that doesn't really count as cheating, does it? After all, we didn't end up getting married. I never would have thought that the heartless scoundrel was actually me, one with wealth, power, and good looks. And another with good looks who was about to gain wealth and power. I actually broke the hearts of two such outstanding men. What a sin. That night, Shenjie clung to my arm and poured out his grievances all night, even saying that if I didn't kill Fu Zhong, it would mean I had truly shifted my affections and betrayed his sincere feelings. I asked him if the reason for wanting to kill Fu Zhong wasn't just because I had changed my heart. Not exactly, he replied with utmost honesty. Then I slapped him away, blaming him for not truly caring about me, and after a bit of a commotion, I finally kicked him out. So now I finally understand why the King of Hell sent me to collect Shenjie. He clearly wanted to use my relationship with Shenjie to get special treatment. The next morning, Shenjie was still crouching outside my door. Seeing me come out, he immediately stood up and blocked my path. Yang, let's go kill Fu Zhong. No, you truly have transferred your affection to him. He lowered his gaze, his expression carrying a hint of a woman's feigned reproach. I want to know why you want to kill Fu Zhong. I thought to myself that since Shenjie's desire to kill Fu Zhong wasn't entirely because of me, and he had previously mentioned that Fu Zhong was the last person he intended to kill, there must be some unresolved grievances involved. He did not answer me, clearly unwilling to discuss the matter. If you won't tell me, I'll go ask Fu Zhong myself. I left it at that. And at that moment, he dropped his deliberately reproachful demeanor, his brow already clouded with anger. Don't go looking for him. Then you tell me. Yang, "Don't go looking for Fu Zhan." He left only these words, and before I could get a clear look, even his shadow had vanished from the courtyard. There was no other way. I went back to the underworld once to look up Fu Zhan's life records. 24 years of life experiences are mostly glossed over in this biography. At 17, met Shen Jie, the newly appointed governor of the capital, and became close friends with him. At 19, was jilted by Wenren Yang, the daughter of the Minister of War. At 21, his elder brother colluded with the Right Chancellor in an attempt to eliminate the Fourth Prince's faction. With the Wenren family as the primary target, Wenren Yang came to him for help. He agreed but failed to persuade the crown prince. The men of the Wenren family were exiled, and the women were enslaved. In June of the same year, the marriage contract with Wenren Yang was renewed, and the wedding took place in early July. In the first month of the following year, Wenren Yang passed away from illness and was buried with honors in the royal tomb. From then on, he lingered in places of pleasure and lived a life of indulgence. This was the last sentence of Fu Zhan's life. I have the right to glimpse into his past. But only the King of Hell has the authority to seek out the affairs of a person's remaining life. But so far, I still cannot find another reason why Shen Jie wanted to kill him. There is a torn page in this biography, located right after the Wenren clan was exiled. I tried to look up Shen Jie's life story, but searched for a long time and couldn't find it. When I went to find the King of Hell, he was using a 1,000-mile mirror to spy on the High God. The High God was being intimate with the Heavenly Emperor, while the King of Hell clutched his chest with a pained expression. Ahem. I leaned close to his ear and coughed softly. If we get caught again, no one will take the blame for you. The King of Hell was startled, dropping the telescope to the ground, nearly shattering it. He glanced at the mirror on the ground, feigning composure, and calmly smoothed his robe. Did you catch the fierce ghost? I shook my head. No progress at all. So why did you come back? I've discovered a new identity for myself, the lover of a fierce ghost. I straightened up and pulled out Fu Zhan's life records that I had hidden in my sleeve. Wei Ju's mungpa soup is getting weaker and weaker, the King of Hell said as he stood up and moved step by step toward where the mirror had fallen. Go drink another bowl later. And by the way, tell her that if she keeps cutting corners, she can pack her things and leave. Cut it out. I took 2 quick steps to block the King of Hell's path. First of all, I haven't remembered anything. Secondly, if you really wanted me to forget, you wouldn't have sent me to collect Shen Jie. I raised the Book of Life in my hand and asked him why a page was missing. Pages with errors are torn out. Where are they torn to? How would I know? Then who would know? I asked him. The former judge. Where is the former judge? He gave me a wide-eyed look. You're the current judge. You tell me where the previous judge went. Of course, he's been reincarnated. All right, so he's nowhere to be found then. I stomped the mirror behind me into pieces and quickly left. The King of Hell shouted, my magical artifact, my love, Luo Yu, you vicious she-devil. Shen Jie had been missing for several days. And my time staying at Fu Zhan's residence had also come to an end. The housekeeper came to call for me early in the morning. He seriously doubted whether I had actually exorcised the ghost. If I said I hadn't, I wouldn't get the silver and would be driven out as a fraud. If I say yes, what if that guy Shen Jie comes back one day? I'll still be called a fraud, though I am one to begin with. Just as I was thinking of an excuse to brush him off, the steward stated his purpose, saying he had come to see me because Fu Zhan had sent for me. Today is the anniversary of the death of Fu Zhan's late princess consort that is to say, my death anniversary. He wants me to perform a ritual for her. The scene was truly eerie. I stared at the all-too-familiar face in the portrait before me, my mouth stretched so wide it nearly reached my chin. You really have all the good things coming at once. Her, the Emperor's sudden death, the anniversary of his ex-wife's passing, and proposing to Miss Hui. Fu Zhan really has his schedule packed to the brim. I sat cross-legged on the floor, clasped my hands together, and began to sleep, to perform the ritual. But I don't know how much time passed before I fell asleep. It was all because the roast chicken on the altar smelled too good and Shen Jie had disturbed my rest last night. I dreamed that he was holding 3 chickens, saying he'd give them to me if I killed Fu Zhan. Otherwise he wouldn't even leave me a chicken, but I cursed, saying I must have been blind to have fallen for him in my past life. And then the whole dream was just him running, me chasing. and the roast chicken with nowhere to escape. I never expected that when I woke up, I would be holding that roasted chicken in my arms, and Fu Zhon was sitting nearby, tilting his head as he looked at me. I am truly, deeply sorry. I could only pretend not to see him. Then stood up and placed the roasted chicken in my arms onto the altar. You're not a mage, are you, Miss AU? Before I could slip away, his eyes fixed directly on me, and then he patted the spot where I had just been sitting, signaling for me to return. I mean, if you're going to act, you've got to commit to the role, no breaking character until the very end. Who said that? Haven't you heard, Second Prince? I've exorcised tons of vengeful spirits. Why did Miss AU fall asleep as soon as she closed her eyes while performing the rites for my late wife just now? I didn't fall asleep as soon as I closed my eyes. I'm not a pig. Not only did you fall asleep, but you also snored, he added. All right then, I'm a pig. That's the main event. I sat up straight, shifting my body to face him directly. I just met the Second Prince's deceased wife in my dream. Fu Zhon visibly frowned. Really, of course it's true. Although I slept for quite a while, I was talking with the princess consort in my dream the whole time. Say what? She said she wanted to eat roast chicken. Oops, I mean, the princess consort wanted to eat roast chicken. Ah, Fu Zhon tilted his head, looking skeptical. So that's why I held that roasted chicken in my arms. I pointed at the altar, glancing sideways at Fu Zhon. All right, even I think I'm a fraud, then can she eat it? What? I didn't expect Fu Zhon to actually take it seriously. Just as I was about to admit that I was just fooling around, he actually took the roast chicken down and shoved it into my arms. Miss A, you must have some way to help me deliver this to Yanga. Hey, actually this roast chicken is for me. I'm really quite embarrassed. These past few days, Fu Zhon has been coming every day to bring me roast chicken. Getting sick of it is impossible. But his frequent visits have led everyone in the mansion to think he's shifted his affections and forgotten Miss Ahuai from the Spring Full Pavilion, and that devil Shenjie, upon finding out that Fu Zhon and I have been spending all our time together, has grown displeased again. He hides a good distance away from us, staring without blinking like a living dead man. I deliberately teased him, pulling out a roasted chicken leg and handing it to Fu Zhon. This is for Yanga. He shook his head. She said to let you eat it. I leaned in and fed it to Fu Zhon's mouth. The princess consort said she misses the second prince very much. Really. She also said she hopes to reunite with the second prince in the next life. I glanced at Shenjie not far away and nearly burst out laughing upon seeing his livid face. What else did Yanga say to Miss AU? Fu Zhon pressed. She also said that what happened with Shenjie in her lifetime was just a pretense, and that she had always loved the second prince from beginning to end. After saying this, I wanted to look at Shenjie's expression again, but found that he had long since disappeared from outside the door, and Fu Zhon in front of me also changed his expression at that moment. He looked somewhat dejected. The person Miss Ayu saw was not Yanga. The one she loves is Shenjie. The only and deeply beloved one is Shenjie. I didn't react for a moment. And Fu Zhon had already picked up the roasted chicken from the table and started saying goodbye to me. I won't disturb you any further, miss. No, what's going on here? I called out to him, pointing at what he was holding. The roast chicken. This is for Yanga. All right then, judging by his expression and tone, it means the person in my dream isn't Wenren Yang. So naturally, he's taking the roast chicken with him. Anyway, I've had enough to eat, so take it away if you want. However, in the evening, Shenjie brought me 3 roast chickens. Yang, try some. I shook my head. I don't accept food given out of pity. Then you'll eat Fu Zhon's. That's different. I got up from the bed, sitting cross-legged to look at him. He was my husband in my past life. Not husband. He sat down by my bedside, extremely serious. He's an old flame. He was my husband. You're the old flame. I am your husband. You're not. I don't acknowledge you. Wenren Yang. He suddenly raised his voice, glaring at me fiercely. I'll kill Fu Zhon. Believe it or not. Go ahead and kill him, if you could. Why would you threaten me? Kill me, if you don't. You're a pig. Before I could finish my words, he sealed them with his mouth. This was the first time I had been so close to Shenjie, and I realized his entire body was as cold as winter frost, chilling to the bone. Besides the cold, his lips were incredibly soft, like sweet green rice balls. I couldn't help but give them a little bite. Shenjie was taken aback for a moment, but his lips never left hers. I was originally lost in a flurry of panicked heartbeats, but at some unknown moment, my soul gradually grew hollow, and then a brief sensation of pain stripped away my thoughts. By the time I came to my senses, I realized my soul had already left my body, and she had been taken over by Shenjie, the beauty trap of the 36 stratagems. This is pure seduction, I told you, Yang. Black patterns gradually spread across his face, his eyes had lost focus, and an invisible force surrounded him, making it impossible for me to get close. I will kill Fu Zhong. He's truly lost his mind. At the very moment I was falling for him, he was only thinking about taking advantage of me. I returned to the underworld to seek reinforcements. The little ghosts all said the King of Hell was sick, and when I rushed over, I found him bruised and battered. Old Hay said the King of Hell's sickness was lovesickness, and his injuries were from being caught peeping at the higher deity, who came over and beat him up. Didn't I smash his telescope? How is he still peeping? Don't even mention it, Old Hay whispered mysteriously, leaning in. He got a knockoff from somewhere, and that's how he got caught. You've made your bed, now lie in it. What are you back for? Old Hay asked me. Oh, the fierce ghost has turned evil, he wants to kill my husband. Old Hay looked incredulous. Luo Yu, did you go to exorcise a ghost or get married? My late husband, I explained, thinking that the King of Hell probably couldn't be relied on now, so I wanted to drag Old Hay along for a trip to the mortal world, but he said that when he went to collect Shenjie's soul, he almost lost his own ghostly life, so there was absolutely no way he could go again. Shenjie carries the malevolent energy of dozens of wronged souls. In my decades in this line of work, I've never seen anyone with deeper resentment than him. Have you looked into Shenjie's life story? I nodded. I checked, but there wasn't. Right. Old Hay adjusted his hat, crossed his arms, and said, he harmed too many people. Even if the underworld took him in, they wouldn't let him be reborn. His life record was probably thrown into the 18 hells long ago. Do you know what the 18 hells are like? I shook my head. The ghosts in the underworld fear the 18 hells the most because no soul has ever come out from there. Everyone knows it's terrifying, but no one knows what it's really like inside. There is no Azura, no hellfire. If the first 17 layers of hell torment the flesh, then the 18th layer of purgatory torments the soul. The book of life and death enters with the soul, and in that place where there is no day or night, it will take you to your most painful memories, repeating your greatest fears over and over again. So, is this why it can be called the 18th layer of purgatory? What, then, is the thing Shenjie fears the most? Little Luoyu, I can lend you a soul. Old Hay's work hours were about to begin. He handed me a soul-summoning banner and finally shared a piece of news about Shenjie. Back then, Shenjie was jointly impeached by court officials for colluding with the enemy and deliberately losing the battle. He and dozens of his loyal subordinates were all executed. People like them could have chosen a good reincarnation, but these dozens of wronged souls chose to remain in the human world alongside him. They attached themselves to Shenjie's soul, which is why he has killed so many high-ranking court officials. Aside from the high-ranking officials, he also killed over a dozen people who had nothing to do with his death. The soul in this soul-summoning banner is one of them. Old Hay said that this soul-summoning banner might help me subdue Shenjie. When I returned to the mortal world with the soul banner, Fu Zhong was surprisingly unscathed. He was drinking tea with Miss Huai at the Spring Blossom Pavilion, while Shenjie, disguised as a man, waited downstairs. He stared at Miss Huai's room upstairs, cursing Fu Zhong for having ill intentions. You're not acting right, I said, holding the soul banner and sitting beside him, eyeing his furious face. What are you waiting for? Why not go kill Fu Zhong? I can't kill him. He took a sip of tea, his voice tinged with gritted teeth. Huai will definitely protect him. Oh, you've killed so many people already, and you're still concerned about one Huai. Shenjie saw through my sarcasm and explained, Huai is my sister. My own sister, he emphasized. He looked at my shocked expression, then continued with some satisfaction. First stealing my wife, then my sister. I will never share the same sky with Fu Zhong. This isn't stealing. Miss Huai went willingly. Shenjie was exasperated. Then it's the grievance of a stolen wife. Don't you dare call me your wife at every turn, we're not even married. Besides, what if I were willing to? He shot me a sharp glare, and I immediately shut my mouth. This judge won't stoop to argue with a mere fierce ghost. I tilted my head and began fiddling with the soul-summoning banner that Larohe had given me. But how do you even open this thing? I studied it for a long time but still couldn't figure it out. Instead, Shenjie, noticing my silence, took the initiative to strike up a conversation with me again. Don't look, don't ask, this is something Black Impermanence gave me to capture you with. He sneered. What's with all this junk in the underworld? What are you talking about? I said it's junk. I'll use it to capture you in a moment. Shenjie, to prove to me that it was just a worthless object, split it in half with a single strike of his palm. It really was a worthless object. Yet, the moment the soul-summoning banner shattered, the spirit trapped within burst out of it, without even looking back. It didn't flee, nor did it confront Shenjie, who had killed it. Instead, it charged straight toward the zither player on the stage. The musician, possessed by him, slammed the guqin with a crack and shouted at the dancer on stage, "What are you swaying for? Today is the farewell performance of the storyteller of the capital. Hurry up and sit down to listen to me spin the tale in detail." What is this? The storyteller of the capital, a man obsessed with storytelling his whole life but never famous, who became a sensation for half a year after his death thanks to an unfinished tale. Bai Wuchang had somehow slipped to my side. Larohe didn't dare come. So I'm here to join the fun. What is that unfinished story of his you mentioned? Don't look at me, even the ghosts don't know. Bai Wuchang gestured with his chin toward the person on the stage. This guy went to the underworld and stubbornly refused to drink Meng Po's soup, nor did he enter the cycle of reincarnation. His only wish is to finish telling his story. I've been curious for a long time about what this story is. Shenjie beside me had already darkened his expression. I saw his hand hanging at his side, clenched into a fist, and I whispered to Old Bai, "What if he kills this storyteller again?" Old Bai looked at me as if I were a fool. "He's already dead. You can't kill what's already dead, unless he gets devoured." I was trembling with fear, though I lacked the ability to stop Shenjie from acting impulsively. I still inched my way step by step to his side. Over there, storyteller Yi had already begun his tale. Continuing from last time, it is said that General Shen, after suffering defeat in battle and hearing news of his former lover's wedding, was so overwhelmed with fury that he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell into a dead faint. It wasn't until the two nations reached a peace agreement that the few remaining soldiers carried him back to the capital. And he only regained consciousness after 10 days. I carefully nudged Shenjie with my elbow. "Your physical condition isn't great." "Hair." He shot a deadly glare my way. I shut my mouth. Before General Shen could go to the second prince's residence to demand an explanation from Wen Renyang, court officials rose up in unison to accuse him, all submitting memorials claiming that General Shen had colluded with the enemy and betrayed the nation, resulting in the loss of 70,000 of our troops. He was immediately summoned by the emperor to the palace for investigation and did not return for over 3 months. "Did you really collude with the enemy?" He shot me another glare, and I shut my mouth again. General Shen was detained in the palace for questioning. As the saying goes, if the ruler wants a subject dead, the subject has no choice but to die. 3 months later, the emperor issued an edict for his execution. The few dozen remaining soldiers, refusing to accept the verdict, actually banded together and stormed the Ministry of Justice prison in an attempt to rescue him. The outcome was predictable. The last few dozen soldiers of the 70,000-strong army followed General Shen to the grave. After their deaths, court officials began dying one after another. So far, 7 high-ranking ministers have met sudden, violent ends. Someone in the audience immediately cut him off. "Dude, what era are you living in? It's already up to 17 now." Then came a chorus of agreement. "The emperor is dead too. That makes 18. These must all be the vengeful spirits of General Shen's doing." I wasn't having any of it. Rolling up my sleeves and planting my hands on my hips, I yelled, "Get your facts straight. It was me who killed the emperor." Of course, no one paid me any attention. Mr. Ishu shook his head and slammed the table hard a few times. "Are you the storyteller? Or am I?" Shenjie scolded me, so I moved next to Laro Bai and poked him. Shinjie didn't collude with the enemy, right? Larobai was speechless. Xiao Luoyu, can you be quiet for a while? I shut up again. I'm just a curious baby. After all, this Mr. Ishu is telling the story too slowly. The successive sudden deaths of these ministers naturally caused panic, and the most panicked of all was none other than the second prince, who had taken another man's wife. What's going on? What do you mean Fu Zhong took me? Was I not willing after all? Am I out of my mind? The steward of the second prince's residence was constantly worried day and night, fearing that General Shen's vengeful spirit might one day come to the estate. He searched far and wide for someone capable and obtained a personal jade for the second prince. No, this is too messy. What's going on? This storyteller must have left something out. Meanwhile, the audience below was buzzing with noise. And nearly half of the people were looking around for something before leaving without a word. I was puzzled, and so were some others below. Someone immediately shouted, "What kind of nonsense book are you talking about? When did the second prince ever snatch someone's wife?" Clearly, it was the emperor's boundless grace. Even though Wenren Yang was a convicted criminal and had the audacity to break off her engagement with the second prince, the royal family still cherished past sentiments and allowed the two to marry. The storyteller picked up a candied fruit and threw it at him. "You, kid, clearly weren't listening to the previous part of the story. You actually believe the royal family's lies. The truth is, the second prince held a grudge over Wenren Yang breaking off the engagement. Later, when the women of the Wenren clan were enslaved, the second prince sneaked into the 100 Slaves pavilion late at night and forced himself on Wenren Yang. What the, holy crap, hey, Shinjie." I had no time to be shocked. Shinjie, shrouded in dark energy, rushed forward in an instant, grabbed Mr. Ishu by the neck, and lifted him up. Everyone in the audience was so terrified that they stood up and immediately tried to flee. With a wave of his hand, Shinjie slammed the door shut, though he was in my female body. His voice sounded like that of a wrathful deity. "All of you must die." He had completely turned dark. I tugged at Old Bai's sleeve and asked him what to do. Old Bai looked even more dejected. Why did I have to stick my nose in this for no reason? Shinjie turned to look at me, the veins on his face bulging and turning black, his eyes becoming pure black. He gave me a smile. "Yang, don't worry, I'll kill everyone who knows about this." I admit his intention might have been to comfort me. But with the way he looks right now, it's really hard for me not to be scared. "Little Luoyu, how can you bear to watch old Hay catch ghosts all by himself?" Old Bai tugged at my arm. "He'll be heartbroken if I die." "Boo-hoo, he'll come to collect your body," I replied. That made Old Bai feel even worse. "Forget it. Given the current situation, it seems I'm the only one who can step up." I put my hands behind my back, gave Larobai a confident smile, and then walked step by step toward Shinjie. "Don't worry, I won't let Shinjie break you," and, halfway through my sentence, I was thrown back by a shockwave. "Damn it, Shinjie, you're ruthless enough to even hit me." I pointed at the back of his head, cursing him as a jerk. "Larobai came over to help me up. He didn't even lay a hand on you." That was just the hostility radiating from him. "You weakling." I shot Larobai a glare. "What? Now that you know I'm unreliable, you're just giving up on me? Who was the one begging for my help just now?" "I, Luoyu, will never admit defeat." Then came a crisp snap. Shinjie had broken the musician's neck. In an instant, the spirits of the musician and scholar Yishu drifted out, then voluntarily moved to Old Bai's side. "Don't look at me." Old Bai had already entered his slacking off mode, plopping down on the ground. "I'm still waiting for someone to take me in, if he were to eat me." "Which part do you think he'd start with, the arm or the leg?" I turned my head and saw that Shinjie's target had shifted toward the audience below. There were over 100 people in this Spring Blossom Pavilion. Could he really be planning to kill them all? He grabbed 2 young noblemen by their necks at once, and they died instantly. "Shinjie, stop." As the souls around Larobai grew more numerous, I tried to edge closer to him while shouting, "If you kill another 100 people, you could go straight to the underworld and become the king of hell." With 2 more sickening cracks, he tossed aside the person in his hands and turned to look at me. "What's wrong with being the king of hell? One king of hell, one Judge Iron and I would make the underworld's most powerful couple. We wouldn't even need to bother killing these people. Wouldn't it be easier to just write them off as dead?" "You're insane." Who's crazy? A voice pierced my ears, startling me so much I jumped. Turning around, I realized it was none other than Yang Wang. Old Bai, with lightning speed, clung to Yang Wang's leg. I knew it. Lord Yang Wang, you've come to save me, Old Bai, haven't you? That's right. Yang Wang is here. With him here, he can definitely subdue Shenjie. Following Old Bai's lead, I immediately dropped to the ground and hugged his other leg. What's going on here? I came because I heard someone was trying to steal my throne. All these years, there have always been cunning ghosts trying to harm me. It's him, this cunning ghost. Old Bai pointed at Shenjie, his tone growing more confident. What kind of spirit are you, daring to speak so arrogantly? The King of Hell waved his hand and placed it behind his back, puffing out his chest and raising his head with an imposing demeanor. Old Bai stood up. That's right, you mere fierce ghost. How dare you speak so arrogantly? So what if you have a few dozen vengeful spirits? Just wait until my king captures you, then we'll see if you're still so arrogant. The King of Hell immediately hunched his back, pulling me up with one hand. What fierce ghost? It was you who told me to collect that fierce ghost. The King of Hell twitched the corner of his mouth. I have urgent matters to attend to. I'll just take my leave for now. He really tried to leave just like that, but luckily I was quick enough to grab him by the neck. Don't even think about leaving, Luo Yu. I can't beat him. Even if you can't beat him, you can't run away. I tightened my grip, afraid he would vanish into thin air. Let go of me. I won't let go. Shenjie has gone mad now. Who else can control him but you? How can I subdue him if you don't let go of me? I was half convinced, half doubting. You won't run away. I won't run. All right then. I let go of my hand, ready to watch him perform. He raised his hand, and a circular shield appeared in the air. It looked quite impressive, I must say. Then, in the next second, he struck me with a palm strike. My soul attached itself to the man Shenjie was strangling, and with a crack, I was forced out again. My thoughts couldn't keep up with Shenjie's speed of killing. It's not you subduing him. I rushed to the King of Hell's side in a few steps. Why did you send me over there? Failed. Let's try again. With a wave of his large hand, I was swept over once more. Damn you. Give me a moment to react. Snap. A grand wave of the hand. Snap. A grand wave of the hand. Snap. 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 I'm tired. On the 8th time the King of Hell waved his hand, I grabbed his arm and asked him what on earth he wanted to do. Luo Yu, you are his beloved. You must go to enlighten him, to call out to him with love, to surround him. You have a whole list of reasons. But what if I get strangled the moment I go over? How am I supposed to call out to him and surround him? King Yama, no offense, but couldn't you send me over using someone he isn't choking? Right. King Yama suddenly realized and immediately aimed at a dancing girl, sending me over with a wave. Then he tore an opening in Shenjie's malevolent energy to let me slip through. Shenjie had just dealt with a man at that moment. I stood behind him and whispered, Shenjie, stop killing. Crack. Well, I died again. Shenjie, I'm Wenren Yang. I tried to wake him up, but I didn't get any response from him. His rage is too deep now. All he thinks about is killing. His soul is no longer visible. King Yama said while selecting the next person and then sent me over. Influence him, call out to him, surround him with love. Luo Yu, influence him, call out to him, surround him with love. He grabbed the back of my neck with one hand and lifted me up, while his other hand reached out to strangle me. Over there, King Yama shouted at me. Luo Yu, kiss him. What? Human breath only exists within the soul. When mouth to mouth, he can sense your breath. So, quick, kiss him, Yama shouted. Kiss him, Larobai yelled. Quick, kiss him, a group of souls shouted. Kiss him, I screamed in my heart. Then I reached out, grabbed his head, and bit down on his mouth. The moment my lips, the moment these unknown lips touched his, the surrounding dark energy gradually dissipated, and both his soul and mind separated from our bodies. The King of Hell beside me shouted, Luo Yu, it worked. I saw Shenjie's eyes clear up, and I immediately wanted to pull away from him, but the hand on my neck moved up to the back of my head, holding it firmly, while his other arm wrapped around my waist. My lips had only left his for a moment before they were captured again. Ah Yang, you were the one who kissed me first. He closed his eyes, And I, too, was lost in it, a buzzing mind, a heart that seemed to skip beats, and the illusion of increasingly rapid breathing that wasn't really there. I think, I'm falling for you. I don't know how long it had been like this, but as the murmurs of sympathy gradually came from behind, I slowly came to my senses. King of hell, when will my love come? Old bye. Thank goodness, I won't be eaten. All the spirits, thank goodness, we don't have to die again. The king of hell instructed Old Bye to take the group of spirits back, but he stayed in the mortal world. He said he wanted to find his own love in the mortal world. I returned to the body he had given me. While Shunjie was still plotting to kill Fu Zhong, I thought of that torn page from Fu Zhong's life record. In the more than half a year since coming to the mortal world, most of the rumors I've heard were about the second prince's deep affection for his princess. But I had never heard of the story told by the storyteller. Thanks to Shunjie's disturbance, I finally understood the whole story. After his death, his vengeful spirit lingered, originally only because he and those dozens of soldiers were loyal subjects who died unjustly, which is why he was so fixated on killing the ministers who had accused him. The reason he killed multiple people who had no connection to him and was fixated on killing Fu Zhong was all because of Wen Renyang. Before Mr. Ishu mentioned Fu Zhong infiltrating the Bai Nu pavilion to force himself on Wen Renyang, why did so many people leave in a panic? Because they knew about this matter and were aware that the vengeful ghost had already killed more than 10 people who knew about it. However, there is no record of this incident in Fu Zhong's life chronicle. But a mistaken page was torn out, so there's another reason for this matter. When I went to find Fu Zhong, he was using a brick to smash that jade pendant he always wore, but the jade had a miraculous quality. He broke several bricks, yet the jade remained completely intact. Later, the King of Hell hurried over and took the jade away. The King of Hell's eyes lit up. The 9 heavens profound stone. This treasure can be used to make a 1,000-mile telescope. The King of Hell found a true form. And Fu Zhong also knew he was the King of Hell, and respected him greatly. He gave that jade pendant to the King of Hell. The King of Hell, thank you for your contribution to my love. I asked him, aren't you afraid that Shunjie will come to kill you? He seemed rather awkward when he saw me again. I didn't expect you to be Younger. He had witnessed the situation at Chunman Tower that day, but since we were both in spirit form at the time, he could only see my body committing the killings. It's just that Shunjie called me Yang at the beginning, and I called him Shunjie while possessing the dancer, so Fu Zhong knew that both Shunjie and I were in the mortal world. As for me being Wen Renyang, it was that big-mouthed King of Hell who spilled the beans. Fu Zhong said he always believed Shunjie's spirit was still in the mortal world, and he had no idea that jade pendant could ward off evil. The housekeeper gave it to me, and I kept it because I thought it looked nice. I've been waiting for Shunjie to come find me, but I never expected to reunite with you all in this way. Fu Zhong led me into the study. His back turned to me. After a long pause, he continued, do you believe the story Mr. Ishu told? I don't believe it, I answered bluntly and asked just as directly. But I need an answer from you. For Shunjie. He turned to look at me, his expression fading into the light of the setting sun streaming through the window. It was for Shunjie to dispel his obsession and to confirm his faith. How could he not be able to kill Fu Zhong? Fu Zhong doesn't wear the jade pendant all the time. With the determination Shunjie showed at Chunman Tower, he could easily kill him during one of Fu Zhong's baths, but he didn't. At 17, he befriended Shunjie, the newly appointed governor of the capital, and they became confidants. This is what was written in Fu Zhong's biography. Wealth is easy to come by, but a true confidant is hard to find. Shunjie silenced all the rumor-mongers for Wen Renyang, and also for Fu Zhong. Behind the painting I took, there was a line of text. I flipped through it too quickly to notice at the time, but I discovered it when I went back to look a couple of days ago. It read, if the one Ian marries is you, I can rest easy. Shunjie did not believe Fu Zhong would do such a thing, but the rumors seeped into his bones, and he could not break free from their grip. Killing Fu Zhong was not his obsession, proving that the one he deeply trusted had not betrayed that trust that was his obsession. Fu Zhong said he wanted to meet with Shunjie. They always do things that put me in a difficult position. I scurried off to the room to deliver the message. Fu Zhong wants to see you. He had somehow gotten hold of a knife and was gesturing with it toward the window. What? Is he going to kill himself? Kill himself? How else can I face you without harming myself? Shunjie turned around, sheathing the knife behind his back. So come quickly, take my body away. I steeled my heart, lifted my head, and pouted. After waiting for a long time, there was no movement at all. Opening my eyes, Shunjie looked at me with a half smile. Yang, you're so forward. I really like it, like my foot. I grabbed him with one hand, stood on tiptoe, and kissed him, while Shunjie dropped the knife in his hand and wrapped his arms around me. My breathing grew more and more rapid, but he acted as if nothing was wrong, instead biting my lips even more eagerly. I really couldn't catch my breath anymore, so I reached out and pounded his chest, then pulled back a little. What are you doing? I demanded of him. Kissing you, Shunjie. Can you focus on the task at hand? But hey Yang, I've been killing people for the past few days and I'm exhausted. I reckon I'll need to kiss you for quite a while before it takes effect. He looked at me with pleading eyes, a mischievous smile curling at the corners of his mouth. How long is a while? A good long while. With that, he held me tighter and then kissed me. It really was a good long while. By the time he finished, it was already dark outside. He tossed the knife in his hand a couple of times. This thing from the King of Hell sure feels handy. Given by the King of Hell, what did he give you a knife for? To kill Fu Zhon. Shunjie tucked it at his waist and smiled. I told him that the 100 Treasures shop in the west of the city has materials for making a telescope. In return, he gave me a knife. I couldn't help but facepalm. The King of Hell is really such a love-struck fool. Talk it out properly. You hear me? I stopped Shunjie from leaving and emphasized it repeatedly. Okay, we'll talk it out properly. Shunjie had been gone for a long time, and I fell asleep lying on the bed, in a daze. I felt someone biting me, and when I woke up, I found myself held in his arms. He had already left his physical body, his icy chest pressed against my face, the sharpness of his chin painfully digging into my scalp. I thought he was still asleep, so I shifted my body, preparing to leave. He tightened his arms around me a little more. Yang, let's go take a look on the street. He said something out of the blue. Look at what? Look at the sugar figurines, apricot cakes, and sweet and sour fish. I poked my head out from his embrace. Why look at these? You can't eat them anyway. He swallowed hard. So I'm just looking. I bought 2 sugar figurines, one for me, and the other for. I handed it to Shunjie, then smiled. For me too. The streets were unusually lively today. Thinking that I had never really explored Sangbei in the months I'd been here, I let myself indulge in the excitement even more. Shunjie followed behind me the whole time without saying a word. As the sky gradually darkened, with lanterns hung in front of doors and torches lit along the city walls, I sat on the steps of the moat bridge and swallowed the last piece of Osmanthus cake. Shunjie spoke up. Why don't you ask me whether I killed Fu Zhon or not? Did you? I asked him. No. Well, there you have it. I propped my chin on my hand and looked at him. Let me tell you something. I've roughly analyzed the rumors about Fu Zhon forcing himself on me. He didn't respond, but his expression clearly showed he wanted to hear what I had to say. Seeing him like this, I got even more excited. First of all, who is Fu Zhon? The second prince of Sangbei. He replied. Right, he's the second prince of Sangbei. But he's also the one I broke off the engagement with. A prince being rejected by me, how embarrassing for the royal family. That's why so many people believed the rumors afterward that he forced me. But Fu Zhon and I grew up together since childhood. That kind of innocent, intimate bond where we've even seen each other wet the bed, no one can replace that. I spoke with enthusiasm. While Shunjie's face darkened almost to the color of charcoal, I let out an awkward laugh and explained to him. My feelings for him are just those between friends. Just get to the analysis, skip all the build-up. Shunjie plopped down beside me and turned to signal me to continue. In short, after the Wenren clan was convicted, I ended up in the 100 Slaves Pavilion. Fu Zhon couldn't bear to see me suffer humiliation there, so he tried to rescue me. The Ku by Nu Pavilion is a royal venue, and given my special status, he had no other choice. That's why he forced this act with me. The emperor was caught in a dilemma and had no option but to release me to marry Fu Zhon. I turned my head and raised an eyebrow at Shunjie. Did I analyze it correctly? Absolutely spot on. He gave me a thumbs up. A Yang, you're such a genius. I pulled a long face. Are you complimenting me? He nodded, making a swearing gesture. I'm being completely sincere. I was lost in thought, captivated by Shenjie's intense gaze and the lamplight filtering through his silhouette. Ah Yang. Everything I say and do is utterly sincere. After saying this, he fell completely silent. Yet even so, I understood his inexplicable words. Everything said and done was a sincere and fervent expression of his love for Wenren Yang, just as Wenren Yang's was for him. How could I have come up with such a precise answer? I am Wenren Yang, who has lost her memory. Or rather, I am just Luo Yu. These truths were merely told to me by Fu Zhong. How deeply Shenjie loved Wenren Yang, a loyal and righteous general. He ended up filled with resentment over her innocence and killed many. But how could Wenren Yang not have loved him in return? You refused to marry me, saying you will wait for his return. That day, Fu Zhong said so. What made Wenren Yang change her mind? It was her love for Shenjie. The Wenren clan had just been convicted. If she were to remain involved with Shenjie, his charges would likely be compounded. Only when Wenren Yang got married would he give up. And only if the man she married was Fu Zhong would he willingly let go. Wenren Yang risked everything, yet still failed to protect the young man she loved. She fell ill and died in the first winter after Shenjie's death. In that season when all things withered, while others lamented the lifeless world, only Wenren Yang found redemption. But now, Shenjie is still Shenjie. Yet Wenren Yang is no longer the Wenren Yang she once was. Over these many days, I often find myself thinking back to the time when Shenjie and I first met. From the time he fiercely devoured my piglet, threatened me with a life-saving talisman to kill Fu Zhong, to grabbing my face and asking if I had fallen for Fu Zhong. In those moments, I was Luo Yu, but later, to him, I became Wenren Yang, and from then on, every time Shenjie looked at me, his expression was filled with joy. He only called me A Yang, A Yang, A Yang, A Yang, A Yang, A Yang. Every word was A Yang. Never straying from A Yang. But those deep affections that were passed down and vividly recounted were, to me, just stories after all. I am no longer Wenren Yang. I am merely an observer. So at that moment, I must have seemed utterly inexplicable to him. When he told me that he had always been sincere with me, I asked him, what if I were just Luo Yu? And he gave me no answer. Shenjie's obsession has been resolved, so I asked the King of Hell when we could head back. Luo Yu. The princes of Sangbei are still fighting. Oh right, sorry, I forgot about that. Seeing that he had managed to delay me, the King of Hell went off to continue his search for love. Early the next morning, I knocked on Fu Zhong's door. I ask you, do you want to be emperor? He wasn't fully awake yet, just casually draped in a piece of clothing, and I could see his eyes weren't even open. I asked him again, do you want to be the emperor? He nodded slightly forward. Good, you wait. I turned and ran off, determined to quell the chaos in Sangbei today, so I could return sooner and rest easy. I ran to the underworld and shouted to the Azura king of the 10 layers of purgatory, Brother Azura, can you lend me that old emperor of Sangbei for a few hours? Brother Azura is easy to talk to, but the emperor is quite unwilling. All the way to Sangbei, he kept grumbling and cursing at me. Of course, he also cursed his sons without fail, ungrateful sons. How dare you rebel before my body is even cold? What usually seems as docile as sheep, yet secretly they all have troops stockpiled. I nudged him and told him that the second prince hasn't stockpiled troops, nor has he rebelled. Bah! What infuriates me the most about that damned boy is that he was first disgraced by being jilted by the daughter of a mere minister, bringing shame to the royal family, and then he went on to disgrace us further by insisting on marrying that woman. Now, look at this. He shook his hand, the iron chains clanking loudly. My body is not yet cold, and he is already preparing to get married. I took a few steps closer to the emperor. Who do you plan to pass the throne to? He thought for a moment. The fourth son, his ruthless, cruel, quite reminiscent of my younger self. The fourth son won't do. I rejected him. He looked at me as if I were a fool, but then thought it over again. Then old 7, sinister and aloof. Old 7 won't do either. Old 6, no. Old 5, no. The emperor was utterly enraged. You little brat, who do you think you are, anyway? I've never seen any 5th or 6th prince. Either you let Fu Zhong become the emperor, or you go back to the 10th layer of purgatory to suffer. The emperor asked me what benefits he would get if Fu Zhong became the emperor. I thought for a moment, perhaps the king of hell can grant you wealth and honor in your next life. Is that all? And supreme power. And then, he was still not satisfied. Beautiful women in droves. Deal. He patted my hand, sealing the deal. You old pervert. I knew the princes of Sangbei had gone mad with killing, and simply having the old emperor show up to tell them the chosen successor was utterly useless. So on the night of the Sangbei bathing the Buddha festival, when the city was decorated with lanterns and crowds gathered, I brought the old emperor up to the city wall and had him announce the successor in front of all the people. When the words "the second prince can succeed the throne" were spoken, I saw Fu Zhong from afar, stumbling and falling to the ground. He was a bit too overjoyed, after sending the old emperor away, surrounded by the people and officials. Fu Zhong shouted to me in an extremely loud voice, "Luo Yu, I really thank you, no need to thank me." I waved at him, letting the imperial guards stuff him into the dragon carriage and carry him away. The clamor seemed to fade away in an instant, the streetlights still shining, looking like oversized stars from a distance. Shenjie had somehow appeared by my side. He asked me, "When are you returning to the underworld?" It had been a few days since we last spoke after that night. This state of affairs felt like a quarrel, yet it never truly erupted. I'm a bit speechless with myself for feeling jealous of Wen Renyang. I often try to imagine how I, as Wen Renyang in my past life, used to interact with Shenjie. Would she take the initiative to kiss him? Would she dislike his cold body temperature? Wait, if Shenjie were still alive, how could his body be cold? I was lost in thought for a long time until Shenjie waved his hand in front of my eyes. He called me a Yang again. Luo Yu is not Wen Renyang. I looked up. The fireworks on the city wall pierced through his figure, reflecting in my eyes. I know nothing of the nature of the A Yang you loved, nor how she loved you. So, Luo Yu, A.U., or Judge, call me whatever you like. Just don't call me a Yang anymore. At the moment the fireworks faded, he raised the corner of his mouth. He said, "Yes, Your Honor." I was really pissed off by him. The day before returning to the underworld, Fu Zhong welcomed our Huai with a grand wedding procession spanning 10 miles. Fu Zhong said, "People always have to look forward. People always have to look forward. People always have to look forward." I kept repeating this phrase all the way back to the underworld. The king of hell was almost driven mad by me and walked ahead alone. People always have to look forward. I deliberately moved closer to Shenjie. People always have to look forward. How true that is. He reminded me, "Your Honor, we are ghosts." I didn't speak another word to him until we reached the underworld. Instead, King Yama sniffed the air for a long time, saying the atmosphere of the underworld felt off, then cautiously remarked that a great figure might have arrived. I pointed at Shenjie. "Isn't it him? His aura is not that pure." As soon as the words fell, a woman in white emerged from around the corner, the wind lifting her hair into the air, as if the entire underworld was illuminated by her presence. I clearly heard the king of hell swallow hard. "Luo Yu, my love has arrived again." What do you mean by again?" "Ah, right. This one isn't the high god the king of hell has been thinking about for half a year." Old Bai came over to explain. "This is the Star Lord of Fate from the heavens. He's here in person to deliver the book of life and death." The king of hell's eyes lit up, and he pushed Old Bai aside to stride toward the Star Lord of Fate. I shook my head and handed Shenjie over to Laro Bai, but he didn't dare to take him. "Luo Yu, maybe you should still come along." "Me coming along won't help," I said, crossing my arms and deliberately speaking sarcastically. "I'm just the judge now, not someone's beloved anymore." Unexpectedly, Shenjie chimed in. "That's right, Judge. I'm so angry, especially after seeing the king of hell over there flirting with the Star Lord of Fate with a blushing face. I'm even angrier." Old Bai. I tightly gripped Bai Wuchang's arm, glaring at him and shouting, "Is there a fate book for me among those given by the Star Lord of Fate?" "Why yes, I think so." He was so frightened by me that he was speechless, casting a pleading look toward the Star Lord of Fate. "Wen Renyang, Luo Yu, currently serves as a judge in the underworld." The Fate Star looked at me, while somewhat disdainfully pushing away the king of hell's groping hand. "I've arranged a rather decent reincarnation for you." As she spoke, she waved her hand and conjured an image before my eyes. The woman inside only showed her back, but just from her clothing and adornments, one could tell she was of extraordinary status, the queen of a nation. The fate star withdrew her magic. "Are you satisfied?" The Empress, I stammered in shock. "Satisfied, more than satisfied, absolutely. The Emperor and Empress share a deep bond. In your next life, your one true love will be Fu Zhon from your previous life." The Star Lord of Fate actually began wiping away tears as he spoke. "Fu Zhon has been my unresolved regret for 100 years. In my previous life, I was drinking with the matchmaker and got too drunk, accidentally pairing you with Shenjie. Now, at last, there are no regrets left." Woo woo woo. In an instant, the underworld fell into silence. Even the King of Hell, whose face was flushed with excitement, froze his smile, except for the Star Lord of Fate, who was still lost in his own world. Everyone turned their gaze in unison towards Shenjie. Unexpectedly, Shenjie not only didn't get angry but also smiled surprisingly. "That's quite good," he agreed with the Star Lord of Fate's words. "Right, you also think this fate book of mine is well written, don't you? A true confidant, dear confidant. What is your name? Tell me, and I'll arrange a good afterlife for you." The Fate Star Lord conjured paper and brush as he spoke, waiting quite seriously for Shenjie's answer. Yama chuckled twice, then pulled Siming aside. "Star Lord, don't worry, this ghost has no chance of reincarnation." As he spoke, he winked at Laro Bai, signaling him to take Shenjie away. "Could Judge Daran escort me there?" Shenjie requested Laro Bai, who was more than willing to oblige. "He found a moment to be alone with me, yet he didn't say a word. In the end, I was too weak-willed. While walking step by step toward purgatory, I felt as if I had already fallen into it before Shenjie did. In the end, I grabbed his hand. "Shenjie, run." I went to the mortal world and saw birds singing amid fragrant flowers, bustling crowds, starry nights, and sunlit days, things that never existed in the underworld. I also tasted sweet and sour fish and apricot cakes, and met Huai, Fu Zhon, and Shenjie. I regarded it as our first meeting, not a reunion. But whether it was the first meeting or a reunion, we ultimately walked the same path of life. I don't want everything to end here, so I said, "Shenjie, you run." At that moment, I didn't think about whether it was right or wrong, or what the consequences would be. It was only after the gates of purgatory opened, and the waves of wailing in the crimson flames struck me. At that moment, my sanity completely shattered. "Just the 18 levels of hell, that's all," Shenjie said, as if comforting me, yet he pried my hand from his grasp one finger at a time. Finally, he stepped backward to the boundary between the fiery red flames and the outside world. He said, "You think your ghost brother can go in and out a dozen times in a minute. Believe it or not." I could no longer see his face clearly. But his tone was so light and confident, so confident that I was truly persuaded by his words. So at that moment, as he leaned back and fell, as the crimson flames engulfed him, I said, "I believe." The voice was not loud enough for him to hear, nor did it need to be, for it was merely a hint I gave to myself. "I believe, so I will wait for you to come out." The Star Lord of Fate has come to the underworld again. From our first meeting until now, this is her 10,008th visit. You ask me why I remember so clearly, because every time she comes, the King of Hell goes on strike, and my workload increases. But if you ask why the Fate Scribe is here, it's naturally for me. Since the day Shenjie entered purgatory, 90 years have passed, and I have always been unwilling to move on to the next life. The goddess of fate is too fixated on me and Fu Zhon. She insists on pairing us together, so she conspired with the sycophantic King of Hell to keep Fu Zhon from dying to this day. In the meantime, I visited the mortal world once, and by then Fu Zhon was already an old man in his 90s, though still in robust health. Just before leaving, the 70-year-old Crown Prince Fu Zhon learned that I was a judge of the underworld and threw himself at my feet like a dog. He said he wanted to become emperor in his lifetime, even if just for a day. Then 3 years ago, Fu Zhon successfully outlived his crown prince. First, I sent off Huai, then Fu Zhon's crown prince. Third prince, fourth prince. I think in a few more years, his third generation will be here. The Star Lord of Fate didn't try to persuade me this time either. She took the wine she'd swiped from the King of Hell, downed a big gulp, and then smashed the jar on the ground. None of the couples I've shipped have ever worked out. See what P. I asked her. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. She turned her back to me and waved her hand. Forget it, forget it, forget it, Star-Lord. Are you leaving? I watched her step by step walk out of the underworld and hurriedly bid her farewell. Come and visit again next time. I'm not coming back. Seeing you just makes me angry. Another 10 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and Fu Zhon still hasn't died. The fate scribe never came again after that. Since she and the King of Hell had extended Fu Zhon's life by 15 years last time, by this calculation, he still has about 3 years left before he kicks the bucket. In the 10 years since the fate scribe stopped coming, the King of Hell has been too preoccupied to eat or drink, so my life hasn't been any easier either. He dumped all the work on me, and this time, the 1,000-mile mirror made from Fu Zhon's 9 heavens profound stone was used to keep an eye on the fate scribe. The one who could become the King of Hell is the person who has committed the most sins across the 3 realms. It is said that the great war between demons and monsters 300 years ago was instigated by the King of Hell. The fate goddess dislikes the King of Hell because, during his lifetime, he broke free from the fate ledger she had set for him and caused both the demon and monster realms to remain lifeless for a century. The King of Hell also grew timid. For 10 years, he did not dare to face the fate goddess. I had thought his love came and went quickly. Never imagining that he would remember the fate goddess for 100 years, the King of Hell said, "This is called a glance that spans a century." I couldn't care less about his sentimental lamentations. All I knew was that however many years he had been lovelorn, that was how many extra years of work I would have to do for him. So I patted him on the shoulder and earnestly advised him to bravely pursue his love. The King of Hell shook his head. "Apart from her loathing for me, I have nothing." "Who said you have nothing? You are the King of Hell who governs life and death in the mortal world, and she is the fate master who controls the destinies of all beings. One of you holds the book of life and death, the other holds the book of fate. It's a match made in heaven." Really, the King of Hell suddenly understood. "You're right." He slammed the table and stood up. "I, the king, am going to the heavenly realm to propose to the fate scribe," without a moment's hesitation. The King of Hell set off immediately. The next day, every ghost in the underworld knew that the book of life and death had been taken by the King of Hell to propose to the fate scribe. The King of Hell barged into the fate scribe's palace, holding the book of life and death, knelt on one knee, and poured out his deepest affections. "This is all I have. From now on the book of life and death is yours to manage. Marry me, Fate Star-Lord." Get lost. King of Hell, how can you curse at someone? Fate Star-Lord, curse at you. I'll even hit you, believe it or not. The god of fate felt embarrassed. The King of Hell did not